Welcome to the class. And yes, following last class, we are continuing our topic on motion. Okay, so if you are viewing this video for the first time, you can actually refer to the previous class, which is the previous video to it, which will be uploaded, which is already uploaded on the channel. Okay, so you can watch that video and then understand. It is a more of an introduction there. All right. So going more into motion today, in today's class, we are going to discuss about average speed, average velocity, uniform motion, and non-uniform motion. Okay, so let us get started. So from the previous classes, we have already seen the definition of speed and velocity. Okay, so we know that speed is the rate of change of distance. Okay, and velocity, it is the rate of change of displacement. So these are two different things. We know that speed is a scalar quantity and velocity, it is a vector quantity, and vector quantity is something which has both magnitude as well as direction. Okay, but whereas speed, it just has magnitude but it does not have any direction. All right, so now let us see the formulas. So the formula for speed is equals to distance upon time. Okay, so we can actually write it as s equals to d by t. Okay, so this is the general formula for speed. Now to know the formula for velocity. Okay, so velocity is equal to the displacement per unit time. So we can write it as v is equals to displacement per time. And you can see this arrow mark on top हैन यो v र डिस्प्लेसमेन्ट को माथिपट्टि एरो देख्दैछ नि जुन चाहिँ तिमीहरुले v र डिस्प्लेसमेन्ट को माथिपट्टि एरो so that is a representation of vector quantity. Okay, so vector चिजलाई चाहिँ जे चिज पनि भेक्टर हुँदाखेरि चाहिँ त्यो भेक्टरलाई चाहिँ हामीले त्यो एउटा लेटरको माथिपट्टि यसरी एरो लाउँछ. Okay, so that represents that it is a vector quantity and it has a direction. All right, so velocity is equal to displacement per unit time. Velocity is a vector quantity and also displacement is a vector quantity. Okay, so now since we have already understood what is speed and velocity, now let us get into the topic which we are going to discuss today. Okay, which is average speed. So now what is average speed? के हो average speed भनेको चाहिँ? So it is the total distance traveled by an object, okay, divided by the total time taken or elapsed to cover the said distance. Okay, so this is the definition. Okay, so to know understand what does it mean is actually it is as good as saying that it is actually the total distance that is traveled by an object. Okay, so एउटा कुनै पनि object ले एउटा जुन चाहिँ पनि total distance travel गरेको छ, that value divided by the total time which is taken to cover that whole distance. Okay, so that value will give you the average speed. So the average speed of an object tells us the average rate at which it will cover a distance. Okay, so यो भनेको चाहिँ के भनेको चाहिँ the average speed जुन चाहिँ छ नि क्या त्यसले चाहिँ हामीले एउटा average value दिन्छ अरे. Okay, so it gives us an average value of the rate at which हैन कुन चाहिँ रेटमा चाहिँ त्यसले एउटा पर्टिकुलर डिस्टेन्स चाहिँ कति टाइममा कभर गर्दैछ भनेर. So that is the actually the use of average speed. Okay, so say if an object has a speed of 20 kilometer per hour. Okay, so let us say that speed of an object is 20 kilometer per hour. Okay, its position will change on an average by 20 kilometer each hour. Okay, so average speed चाहिँ 20 किलोमिटर पर आवर एउटा अब्जेक्टको भन्दैछ भने चाहिँ के भनेको भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ त्यसले चाहिँ एभ्री इच एन्ड एभ्री आवरमा चाहिँ त्यसले 20 किलोमिटर कभर गर्छ भनेको. Okay, because it is distance traveled per unit time नि त हैन डेफिनेसनबाट. सो त्यसले गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ 20 किलोमिटर पर आवर भनेको चाहिँ per hour the body is going to cover a distance of 20 kilometers. So therefore, average speed is equal to the total distance traveled divided by the total time. And the SI unit for average speed is the same SI unit that we use for speed, which is meters per second. Okay, and it can also go on to kilometer per hour, which we have already used here. Okay, so that is how we do it. So now we have already seen what is average speed. We have seen the formula which we use to calculate average speed, and we now know the SI unit of average speed. Okay, so now since we have already known this concept, so let us grasp this concept and एउटा कन्सेप्टलाई हामीले लिइराखौँ अनि त्यहाँदेखिको चाहिँ let us do some numericals related to it. Okay, so that we'll get a hang of it. So let us do some problems. Number one, a car travels a distance of 70 kilometers in 2 hours. What is the average speed? Okay, so एउटा गाडी छ अरे त्यो चाहिँ 70 किलोमिटर्स इन 2 आवर्समा जाँदैछ अरे. ओके, 2 घन्टामा चाहिँ 70 किलोमिटर्स चल्दैछ अरे. सो we need to find what is the average speed of that car. So therefore हामीलाई फर्मुला थाहा छ. Average speed is equal to total distance traveled divided by the total time. And what is the total distance traveled? It is 70 kilometers. So 70 divided by total time is 2 hours. So therefore 70 divided by 2, and the 2 ones are 2, 235 is 70. Okay, so with this we get the average speed of car is 35 kilometers per hour. Okay, so यसरी सजिलो पाराले चाहिँ we can find the value of average speed. Now let us do another question. A man can walk at a speed of 1.5 meters per second. Okay, so now in before question, uh, in the previous question we were asked to find the average speed. Okay, so now in this case question my average speed दिएको छ. Now the person is asking us how far will he walk in 4 minutes. Now the time is given and also the speed is given. What we need to find is the distance that the man has walked. Okay, हाम्रोमा average speed पनि छ, time पनि छ. Now we need to find how much distance the man has walked. So a man can walk at a speed of 1.5 meters per second, and he is traveling that stretch in 4 minutes. So how do we do it? We first do it. We know that average speed is equal to total distance. From here we know that average speed is equal to total distance traveled per unit time. Okay, so from here if we need to find the total distance traveled, what we will do, we will take the total time and we'll take it here and multiply with average speed. Okay, so with that what we'll get, total distance that is traveled will be equal to average speed times the total time. So this is our new formula. Okay, so if with this we can substitute the value of average speed here and time out here. Now you can see here that the speed is given in meters per second. Now we need to take care of the units. Okay, हामीलाई एकदम युनिटको चाहिँ याद गर्नुपर्छ. यहाँ स्पीड कतिमा देख्छ 1.5 meters per second. So it is given in meters per second. Now we need to convert this 4 minutes also into second. Okay, so 60 seconds makes 1 minute. Okay, so यहाँ 4 minutes देख्छ, त्यसले गर्दा we'll multiply it by 60 to make it into seconds. So therefore total distance is equal to 1.5 into 4 into 60. So the total thing will become 360. Okay, so 360, since it is distance we write it as meters. Unit चाहिँ कति अरे, meter. So therefore we can say that the man will walk a distance of 360 meters in 4 minutes with an average speed of 1.5 meters per second. Okay, so clear. So we have already successfully covered 2 problems. Okay, so let us do a third one, which will be a bit lengthy and a complex one. Okay, and we'll be able to understand the concept of average speed very clearly. So a train travels in a straight line Okay, at a constant speed of 60 kilometers per hour for a particular distance d, and then travels another distance equal to 2d in the same direction at a constant speed of 80 kilometers per hour. What is the average speed of the train during the whole journey? Okay, so now this question is a big one. Okay, question ठुलो छ. अब question ठुलो हुँदाखेरि चाहिँ we have to break it into smaller parts and then try to understand. So the first thing the person is saying that question ले चाहिँ there is a train and it is traveling in a straight line, okay, with a constant speed भन्नु मतलब speed change भएको छैन, एउटा constant speed मा जाँदैछ. Okay, so a train is traveling in a straight line with a constant speed of 60 kilometers per hour. 60 kilometer per hour को speed मा चाहिँ train जाँदैछ अरे in a particular distance d. अब एउटा particular distance d travel गर्छ. Then okay, then it again travels another distance 2d. अघि d travel गरेको थियो, फेरि 2d distance travel गरेर, okay, in the same direction change भएको छैन, त्यही straight line नै follow गर्दैछ, त्यही direction मा 2d गयो अरे, but now with a constant speed of 80 kilometers per hour. The speed is changing from 60 to 80, okay, but the first d distance को लागि 60 छ, next 2d distance को लागि चाहिँ 80 kilometers per hour छ. त्यो for a d distance and for 2d distance चाहिँ त्यो आफ्नो आफ्नो distance को लागि चाहिँ speed constant छ. Okay, it is not changing for the distances. Now we need to find what is the average speed of the train during the whole journey. Okay, so डल्लै जर्नीमा चाहिँ ट्रेनको स्पिड चाहिँ एभरेज स्पिड चाहिँ कति थियो भनेर खोज्नु पर्ने छ. So let us do it. So first thing we'll do is we'll consider, let us take t1 as the time taken to cover distance d. Okay, so distance d first मा cover गरेको छ at a speed of 60 kilometers per hour. So त्यो distance d cover गर्नु with the speed of 60 kilometers per hour चाहिँ हामीले, let us take that time to be t1. Okay, and let us take another time to be t2, that is time taken to cover the distance 2d at a speed of 80 kilometers per hour. Okay, so we have t1 and t2. So t1 is equals to, so we know that time is equals to distance per speed. Okay, so time is equals to distance by speed गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ t1 is equals to d by 60 and t2 is equals to 2d by 80. यो सेकेन्ड टाइमको लागि त डिस्टेन्स कति हो 2d र स्पिड चाहिँ कति हो 80. फर्स्ट t1 को लागि d and 60. So now since we already have t1 and t2, we can find the total time. Total time will be this t1 plus t2. Okay, this is the traveling for the first distance, time taken to travel the second distance. So t1 plus t2 will be equal to d by 60 plus 2d by 80. Now let us leave it at this. Okay, and we also will find the total distance that is traveled. Okay, so the total distance that is traveled is d plus 2d, which is 3d. Okay, so the total distance is 3d. अब हामीले डिस्टेन्स चाहिँ अहिले d कै टर्म्समै लेखौँ. ओके, क्वेसनमा पनि d को टर्ममा छ, हामी पनि d कै टर्ममा लेखौँ. अहिले लास्टमा काटेर एन्सर निक्लिहाल्छ. ओके, सो त्यो सुर्ताउनु पर्दैन. Now since we already have total time and total distance, we need to find the average speed throughout the journey. So we know from the formula, average speed is equal to the total distance that is traveled divided by the total time. So average speed is equal to, so total distance traveled is 3d divided by total time is d by 60 plus 2d by 80. d by 60 plus 2d by 80. Okay, so now since we have a fraction in the denominator, अब हामीले यसलाई सल्भ गर्नुपर्छ. यो सल्भ हामीले कसरी गर्छ, d by 60 plus 2d by 80 छ. अब यो दुईटाको एलसीएम लिनु पर्यो. ओके, सो एलसीएम लिँदाखेरि के गर्छ, यो दुईटालाई मल्टिप्लाई गरेर यसलाई 80 र by 80 into 60 लाई यहाँ डिनोमिनेटरमा भएकोलाई हामीले माथि लगेर न्युमरेटरमा राख्छ. So this will become 3d times 80 into 60. divided by, अब since यहाँनिर 60 छ यहाँनिर 80 छैन, so LCM गर्दाखेरि यहाँनिर 80D plus 2 into 60D यति आउँछ हैन, so यहाँनिर 3D into 80 into 60 is 4800 divided by, so 80D plus 2 into 60D, your total when we do it, the calculation will come up to 200D. Okay, so your full thing got DD gets cancelled on the 4800 into 3 divided by 200. When we calculate it, it will come to 72. Okay, so therefore from the whole calculation we can say that the average speed of the train during the whole journey was found to be 72 kilometers per hour. Okay, because we have taken the distances into distances in kilometers. Okay, and the time चाहिँ hours मा छ, so त्यसले गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ the average speed of the train during the whole journey is taken to be 72 kilometers per hour, which means that the train travels in an average हैन, त्यो ट्रेन चाहिँ एउटा एभरेजमा चाहिँ 1 घण्टामा चाहिँ 72 किलोमिटर्स जाँदैछ अरे. All right, so with this we have actually got to know much of idea about average speed. All right, so now let us move on to understand what is average velocity. Okay, so what is average velocity? Average velocity, it is defined as the displacement, okay, displacement with respect to the original position divided by the time. Okay, so it is as good as saying for the same for the average speed. Okay, average speed मा के थियो, the total distance that was traveled divided by total time. Now in this case, since it is velocity, we have to consider displacement and not distance. Okay, so त्यसले गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ velocity, average velocity को definition चाहिँ it is actually the total displacement divided by the total time. Okay, and obviously the displacement will be with respect to the original position. All right, and these are the certain things that we need to understand in average velocities. It is the rate at which an object makes displacement with time. Okay, so average velocity भनेको चाहिँ के रे, it gives us a kind of an average value of how the object is making some displacement with respect to time. All right, next thing is the direction is same as that of the direction of displacement. Okay, we already know that displacement is also a vector quantity. Okay, which means that it has a direction. So now since average velocity is also a vector quantity, it should have a direction, right? So त्यो velocity को लागि चाहिँ जुन चाहिँ displacement को direction छ, त्यही same direction will be the direction for velocity. Now the next thing is, even if the speed of the object is fluctuating and its magnitude is changing, the direction will be same as that of the displacement. Okay, so now here there is an important concept that we need to understand. Okay, so एउटा जुनै पनि एउटा body is moving with a average velocity. Okay, so let us think that the body is moving with an average velocity. So त्यसमा चाहिँ के हुँदैछ भन्ने चाहिँ त्यसको स्पिड फ्लक्चुएट भइरहेको छ अरे हैन, स्पिड अलिक बेसी हुँदैछ अरे कम्ती हुँदैछ अरे, जुन चाहिँले गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ द म्याग्निट्युड अफ स्पिड हैन, एउटा स्पिडको भ्यालु जुन चाहिँ पनि छ, without the direction, velocity and speed are same thing. Okay, only because there is some direction towards the velocity, it makes it different. All right, so velocity बिना चाहिँ के अरे, direction बिना चाहिँ the unit and the magnitude together is just equal to speed. Okay, so जब पनि हाम्रो speed fluctuate हुँदै गर्ने छ, त्यो velocity पनि fluctuate नै हुँदै गरेको हुन्छ. All right, but only the magnitude will be changing. Direction चाहिँ it will be same as that of the displacement त्यति बेला पनि. All right, and the next thing is the magnitude of average velocity is always either less than or equal to the average speed. Okay, so average velocity को भ्याल्यु चाहिँ जहिले पनि कि चाहिँ कम्ती कि चाहिँ इक्वल टु एभरेज स्पिड हुन्छ अरे. ओके, बेसी चाहिँ हुन सक्दैन. किन भन्दाखेरि एभरेज भेलोसिटीमा वी युज डिस्प्लेसमेन्ट, एभरेज स्पिडमा वी युज डिस्टेन्स, एन्ड वी नो द्याट displacement is always less than or equal to distance. So यही कन्सेप्टले गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ average velocity will also be less than or equal to average speed. Okay, so if you remember all these things, then we are sorted. Then we can like answer any question from average velocity. All right, so let us see. So this is the formula that we are going to use while doing the calculations for average velocity. Average velocity is equal to the total displacement by total time. And now again, the SI unit is meters per second. Okay. So now let us do some problems. First thing is, a bus driver drives 20,000 meters. Okay, so 20,000 meters is actually as good as saying 20 kilometers. Okay, so a bus driver drives 20,000 meters down the road in 5 minutes. Okay, so 20,000 meters or 20 kilometers say down road ma 5 minutes ma चलायो अरे एउटा bus driver ले. He then reverses and drives 12,000 meters. Okay, so 12,000 meters again is as good as saying 12 kilometers. Okay, so he then reverses अरे. पहिला चाहिँ 20,000 मिटर चाहिँ ओह्रालो बाटोमा 5 मिनट चलायो. त्यहाँदेखिको चाहिँ रिभर्स गरेर चाहिँ 12,000 मिटर चाहिँ ब्याक लिए अरे गाडी, बस होइन. त्यो चाहिँ कतिमा ल्यायो अरे 3 मिनटमा ल्यायो अरे, इन 3 मिनट्स. वाट इज द एभरेज भेलोसिटी भन्दैछ. सो त्यो डल्लै गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ त्यो गाडीको भेलोसिटी चाहिँ बसको भेलोसिटी चाहिँ कति भयो भनेर खोज्नु पर्यो. सो फर्स्ट थिङ, एज यु क्यान सी हियर द युनिट्स आर नट म्याचिङ. ओके, हाम्रो यहाँनिर के छ, टाइम दिएको छ मिनट्समा, आवर distances are in meters. Okay, and whenever we need to write the velocity, त्यति बेला लेख्दाखेरि हामीले meters per second मा लेख्छ नि त. But that is the standard unit. Okay, we can write it in meters per minute. Okay, but it's actually advised that we convert the minutes into second and then write it as meters per second. ल, यसरी जहिले पनि यस्तो अरु फाल्टु युनिट्समा दिएको छ भने चाहिँ त्यसलाई पहिला एउटा स्ट्यान्डर्ड युनिटमा कन्भर्ट गरिकन चाहिँ विल राइट इट इन आवर आन्सर्स. सो लेट अस कन्भर्ट 5 मिनट्स एन्ड 3 मिनट्स इन्टु सेकेन्ड्स. सो 5 मिनट्स भनेको कति सेकेन्ड्स हुन्छ, 5 इन्टु 60 सेकेन्ड्स, विच विल बी इक्वल टु 300 सेकेन्ड्स. एन्ड 3 मिनट्सलाई सेकेन्ड्समा कन्भर्ट गर्नु भने 3 इन्टु 60 सेकेन्ड्स, विच इज इक्वल टु 180 सेकेन्ड्स. Okay, so with this we have already converted the minutes into seconds. Above now the units are matching. Seconds ma cha time ra distance cha meters ma. Now we need to find the average velocity. So let us see. Average velocity is equal to total displacement by total time. Okay, so now total displacement भन्दैछ. Displacement कसरी हुँदैछ, पहिला एउटा बाटोमा 20,000 मिटर गयो, त्यहाँदेखिको 12,000 मिटर ब्याक आयो. ओके, बट स्टार्टिङ पोजिसनदेखिको लिएर त त्यो पहिला एउटा पोजिसनमा गयो, त्यहाँदेखि फेरि ब्याक आयो नि त. अन्त हि इज समवेयर मिड वे. ओके, आधी बाटोमा छ, यता सुरुकै जग्गामा आइपुगेको छैन. ओके, सो यसको डिस्टेन्स हेर्नु पर्यो भने त पहिला 20,000 मिटर, त्यहाँदेखिको 12,000 मिटर हुन्छ होइन. द्याट इज द टोटल डिस्टेन्स. But displacement, it is the shortest distance that is traveled between the initial and the final position. अब यसको इनिशियल पोजिसन त स्टार्टिङ भइहाल्यो, फाइनल पोजिसन कहाँ हुन्छ, समवेयर इन मिड वे. त्यो हामीले कसरी खोज्छ, सरी अबाउट द्याट. अन्त कसरी हामीले खोज्छ त्यसको डिस्टेन्स चाहिँ, डिस्प्लेसमेन्ट चाहिँ, इट विल बी 20,000 माइनस द 12,000. Okay, so 20,000 minus 12,000 will give you the total displacement. Time कति छ, 300 plus 180, which will give you 480 seconds. 2000 minus 12,000 will give you 8,000. अन्त यसलाई क्याल्कुलेट गर्दाखेरि it will come up to 16.66 some value आउँछ हैन. So the average velocity of that bus is equal to 16.66 meters per second. Okay, so this is how we do it. Average velocity. Let us do one more question. A man walks 10 kilometers to the east. Okay, so now they are giving direction as well. अब हामीलाई याद छ नि त north, south, east र west कहाँ कहाँ हुन्छ भनेर हैन. So if you are just facing the screen right now, okay, so you can see that तिमीहरूले screen face गरिरहेको छ. तिमीहरूको screen को top is the north, bottom is south. Okay, तिमीहरूको right hand side पटि चाहिँ it is east and left hand side पटि चाहिँ west. Okay, so the man walks 10 kilometers east भन्दैछ भन्नुको मतलब right hand side पटि चाहिँ 10 kilometer हिँड्यो for 2 hours 2 घण्टा हिँड्यो त्यति हैन. Then 2.5 kilometers to the west in 1 hour. अब चाहिँ त्यहाँ राइट ह्यान्ड साइडपट्टि 10 किलोमिटर हिँडिसकेर फेरि लेफ्ट ह्यान्ड साइडपट्टि चाहिँ 2.5 किलोमिटर्स हिँड्यो अरे. ओके, 1 घण्टामा. नाउ क्याल्कुलेट द एभरेज भेलोसिटी अफ द म्यान भन्दैछ. त्यो मान्छेको एभरेज भेलोसिटी खोज्नु पर्यो. सो एभरेज भेलोसिटी इक्वल्स टु टोटल डिस्प्लेसमेन्ट बाई टोटल टाइम. अब डिस्प्लेसमेन्ट कहाँ हुँदैछ? वेस्ट टु इस्ट हुँदैछ नि त. सो त्यसले गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ 10.25 10 minus 2.5. Okay, so 10 kilometers पहिला यता गयो, then 2.5 minus गर्दाखेरि हाम्रो displacement निक्लिहाल्छ. So 10 minus 2.5 will give you the displacement. Total time is 2 hours plus 1 hour. हैन? So that will give you 3 hours. So 7.5 divided by 3, which will give you 2.5. So therefore we can say that the average velocity of the man is 2.5 kilometer per hour. Understood? Okay, so this is how we approach a problem. If you have not been able to follow, हैन, मजाले बुझ्न सकेन भने try to go through it again, हैन. बुझ एक एकवटा. जहिले पनि फिजिक्समा whenever you are trying to solve a problem, what you should do is you should first read the question, okay, and then try to write all the given things. कुन के दिएको छ इन्फर्मेसन त्यो लेख्यो अरे, and then what you need to find. Okay, so after that you can, what you do is, what you need to find, you write the formula. त्यो फर्मुलामा चाहिने चिजहरु के गिभन देख्छ त्यो लेख्यो, अन्त जे पनि छैन त्यो चाहिँ तिमीले खोज्नु पर्छ. So that is as easy as that. Okay, so त्यसरी अप्रोच गर्यो भने चाहिँ it will be very easy to solve problems in physics. So with saying this, we have already seen what is average velocity, and we have already seen what is average speed. And average speed पनि बुझ्यो, velocity पनि बुझ्यो. Let us see some similarities between average speed and average velocity, and there are some differences between average speed and average velocity. Okay, so similarities भन्नुको मतलब सेम खालके चीज चाहिँ average speed र average velocity मा के छ भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ average speed, it is an average of some length by the time taken. Okay, so distance is a length, हैन. So एउटा average of the distance by the time taken. So that will give you the average speed. Okay, so similarly velocity को लागि पनि त्यही हो. It is also an average of some length, हैन, by the time taken. अब त्यो लेन्थ चाहिँ यसको लागि डिस्प्लेसमेन्ट हो, त्यसको लागि स्पिड हो, बट डिस्टेन्स एन्ड डिस्प्लेसमेन्ट बोथ आर लेन्थ. ओके, सो इन अ भेरी बेसिक फर्ममा हेर्नु पर्दाखेरि चाहिँ बोथ अफ देम आर सेम, अन्त बोथ अफ देम हेभ अ सेम एसआई युनिट विच इज मिटर्स पर सेकेन्ड. यता पनि मिटर्स पर सेकेन्ड, किलोमिटर पर आवर, मिटर्स पर सेकेन्ड, एनिथिङ यु क्यान राइट. ओके, सो those are similarities between average speed and average velocity. Now let us see the difference. Okay, भर्खर हामीले सेम चीज के छ त्यो हेर्यो. अब डिफरेन्स चाहिँ के रहेछ भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ एभरेज स्पिडमा चाहिँ इट इज अ स्केलर क्वान्टिटी. ओके, स्केलर क्वान्टिटी भएकोले गर्दा चाहिँ इट इज नट अफेक्टेड बाय द प्रेजेन्स अर एब्सेन्स अफ डाइरेक्सन. ओके, सो इट डज नट मिन द्याट अब स्केलर क्वान्टिटी भनेको चाहिँ it is not affected by the absence or presence of direction भनेको हैन. स्केलर भनेको डाइरेक्सन नै हुँदैन. ओके, but since average speed is a scalar quantity, it is not affected. त्यसलाई direction भयो पनि नभए पनि त्यसलाई affect गर्दैन. Whereas average velocity चाहिँ के अरे, it is a vector quantity and it being a vector needs a direction. Okay, so since it is a vector quantity, so it needs a direction. त्यसलाई एउटा कुनै direction, particular direction चाहिन्छ. Okay, next, average speed. Okay, average speed को difference चाहिँ के छ भने it depends on the distance. Okay, so what is the distance भनेपछि the total length of the path covered. Okay, so the path जति पनि हामीले cover गरेको छ, the total length. Okay, so the average speed depends upon the distance. Whereas average velocity, it depends upon the displacement, which is the shortest distance that is traveled between initial and the final position. Alright, so we have seen the similarities and the difference between average speed and average velocity. Now let us do one last question, okay, which relates both average speed and average velocity. So a car travels along a straight road. Okay, एउटा कार छ अरे, त्यो चाहिँ एउटा straight road मा जाँदैछ अरे, to the east for 120 meters. So एउटा कार चाहिँ एउटा straight road मा east को direction मा चाहिँ कहाँ जाँदैछ अरे, 120 meters हिँड्दैछ in 5 seconds. Then it goes to the west for 60 meters in 1 second. Find the average speed and the average velocity. Okay, now we need to find average speed and average velocity. अब दुईटैको formula average speed र average velocity मा we need to find total time and then average speed को लागि total distance, average velocity को लागि total displacement. So first let us find that. Okay, so total distance traveled is 120 meters plus 60 meters, that is 180 meter. Total displacement will be 120 minus 60, that is 60 meters, and the direction is towards east. And total time चाहिँ कति हुन्छ हाम्रो 5 plus 1, which is equal to 6 seconds. So now when we have all this, we can find average speed, which is equal to total distance by total time, that is 180 by 60, that is 30 meters per second. Next, average velocity will be equal to total displacement by total time, that is 60 by 6, which is equal to 10 meters per second. Okay, so with this, I think so it has already been a very clear, okay, what does it mean by an average speed and what does it mean by average velocity and all those concepts. So now let us get into the topic of uniform motion. Okay, so these are very easy and small topics. It would just get over like that. Okay, so just let us try to understand what does uniform motion mean. So when a body travels with a constant velocity such that it covers equal distances in equal interval of time, such a motion is called as an uniform motion. Okay, so एउटा body, okay, there is one body and it is traveling with a constant velocity. Okay, constant velocity भन्नुको मतलब the velocity is not changing, there is no change in the speed. Okay, एउटा constant speed मा एउटा constant velocity मा जाँदैछ एउटा body. Okay, such that it covers equal distances in equal interval of time. Okay, so त्यस्तो खालके हुँदै गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ त्यस्तो खालके मोसनलाई चाहिँ के भन्छ, युनिफर्म मोसन भन्छ. ओके, सो युनिफर्म मोसन भन्नु बित्तिकै हामीले याद गर्नुपर्ने की वर्ड्सहरू चाहिँ के हो, कन्स्टेन्ट भेलोसिटी, इक्वल इन्टरभल र इक्वल टाइम. ओके, इक्वल इन्टरभल्स इन इक्वल इन्टरभल अफ टाइम गर्दैछ भने चाहिँ युनिफर्म मोसन हुन्छ. So see this example. This is a graph which is plotted between the distance traveled and the time taken. Okay, so time taken, जति time हुँदै जान्छ, time interval र distance मा हो. And for a uniform motion, you get a straight line like this. Okay, so this is a body which is moving with a uniform motion. Okay, with a constant velocity. इसमा speed को change पनि भएको छैन, केही पनि भएको छैन. First ma it is 0. Okay, so you can see here for the first time interval is being divided into 1 2 3 4 5 6. Okay, सो each टाइम इन्टरभल को डिफरेन्स चाहिँ कति छ 1 सेकेन्ड को छ सो 1 सेकेन्डमा फर्स्टमा 10 मिटर जाँदैछ नेक्स्ट 1 सेकेन्डमा फेरि 10 मिटर बढ्दैछ फेरि अर्को 10 सेकेन्ड्समा फेरि 10 मिटर्स बढ्दैछ त्यसले गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ 10 20 30 40 50 60 गर्दै बढ्दै जाँदैछ सो इन इच इन्टरभल 1 सेकेन्ड 1 सेकेन्ड 1 सेकेन्ड 1 सेकेन्डमा 10 मिटर्स हिँड्दैछ त्यो सो यसको स्पिड एभरेज स्पिड कति हुन्छ इट इज 10 meters per second okay so this is an example of a uniform motion okay so this is the graph which is plotted for a uniform motion अब यसको example दिनु पर्दाखेरि चाहिँ let us see this okay so there is a straight line and there is a car moving okay एउटा गाडी मुभ हुँदैछ अन्त यहाँनिर हेर 0 देखिको ओ देखिको ए भयो एउटा डिस्टेन्स त्यहाँदेखिको बी ए टु बी बी टु सी सी टु डी ओके सो 0 ए बी सी डी सो यसरी डिस्टेन्सेस छ यहाँ ओके फर्स्ट इज इन 0 मिटर्स त्यहाँदेखिको 4 मिटर 8 मिटर 12 मिटर 16 मिटर को डिफरेन्स सो यो सबैको डिफरेन्समा चाहिँ कति छ 4 मिटरको डिस्टेन्स छ यहाँ पनि 0 to 4 4 to 8 मा फेरि नेक्स्ट 4 मिटर्स 8 मिटरदेखिको 12 मिटर फेरि 4 मिटर 12 मिटरदेखिको 16 मिटर्समा फेरि 4 मिटर्स ओके सो इन इक्वल इन्टरभल अफ टाइम पनि कति छ 2 seconds so in equal interval of time the car is moving with equal distances okay so the car is moving equal distances with equal interval of time so this is an example of a uniform motion okay so uniform motion भनेको चाहिँ के अरे whenever a body is moving with a constant velocity and it is moving and it travels such that it covers equal interval in equal distances in equal interval of time all right so such kind of motion is called as uniform motion now let us see what does non-uniform motion mean non-uniform motion भनेको के हो भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ whenever a body travels with a varying velocity okay so now यसमा चाहिँ अब तिमीले एकदम वर्ड्सहरु मजाले बुझ्नुपर्छ फर्स्टमा चाहिँ युनिफर्म मोसनमा चाहिँ इट वाज constant velocity okay whereas non-uniform मोसनमा चाहिँ varying velocity मतलब velocity पनि चेन्ज हुँदैछ स्पिडहरु चेन्ज हुँदैछ such that it does not cover equal distances in equal interval of time अब यसमा चाहिँ के हुँदैछ भने चाहिँ non-uniform मोसनमा चाहिँ the body does not cover equal distances in equal interval of time okay and there is a varying velocity so such kind of motion is called as non-uniform motion the graph for non-uniform motion is also not a straight line it is a curve okay so any crooked line is called a curve in mathematics okay so graph plotted between the distance traveled and the time taken for a non-uniform motion so it is like this यसमा speed पनि vary हुँदैछ plus it is not traveling with equal distance it is not traveling equal distances in equal interval of time अब यो example हेर अघिको जस्तो there is a car and it is moving in a straight line okay and again it is moving from 0 to A to B, B to C, C to D like that okay but you can see here from 0 to A it is the distance is 1 meter next is 1 meter देखिको 10 meter मा त there is a different distance here again from 10 meter to 25 meter there is a different distance okay so the distances are not equal but the time is same okay so 2 seconds 2 seconds 2 seconds so you can see that this is an example of a car okay which is moving with a non-uniform motion okay non-uniform motion चाहिँ कसरी हुन्छ भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ whenever a body is moving unequal distances in equal interval of time okay so whenever a body is covering unequal distances in equal interval of time then the body is said to be moving in non-uniform motion clear okay so that was all for the class today we have already understood the topic for average velocity average speed uniform and non-uniform motion okay so next class we'll also understand much more about a circular motion okay So that's also a different kind of motion. And with that, I think so we might even end the chapter, and in the later classes go on to the third chapter as well. Okay. So thank you very much for listening. So that is all.